noble citizens, we must bypass a life of dormancy and vice to pursue the generative endeavor of a hard day's work. The benefits of these pursuits are not secured by chance or charity, but through the merit of your character and the firmness of your convictions. It is you who are planting the seeds of trees whose shade you know you shall never see.
All right. What's up? Wiz is here, Broken Wind Podcast, episode X. We'll figure that out later. It is sometime mid-February. Going crazy right now. And we got the whole set on deck today. All of the voices you need to hear about the current political climate and just, the people to tell you that you're not crazy. It is wild what's going on out there. So, and also we got, super producer Vane here with us too. We weren't sure if he was going to be able to join, but he's got the whole soundboard of fart sounds ready to go for any opportunity. We were laughing earlier last week about him following around, like going around his house with a recorder, just trying to capture the perfect fart on mic. Yeah, just trying to get just every fart being like, oh, that's the one. And I think he's got him. But y'all want to, how's everybody been? Let's talk to me. What's going on with everybody? Bad.
Are you hearing it?
Yeah. That's a good audio check. Make sure everyone can hear what's going through.
Yeah, I heard the fart.
Yeah. I just want to check that everyone hears things. Yeah.
Maybe you should fire up a couple more just to make sure everyone can hear.
I actually don't have that many fart sounds ready to go yet.
Dude! Oh
it's
my
a betrayal.
God. Whatever. All right, you know what?
Are there any sounds that are not farts that you have? Or
I don't even have the thing on right now. I'm just off guard right now. I'll just add those in post.
How's everyone's Hawk 2 holdings doing? Are they still good? You got?
She's back,
Yeah, we are going to talk about our Hawk 2 holdings at some point.
Me and Vane got a lot.
Man.
Yeah, I mean.
What an example of a young woman being drunk and saying.
What were you saying?
What an example of a young woman being drunk and saying one funny thing and just being completely taken advantage of by Howie Mandel. Like
Howie Mandel's in on that? I had no idea.
Dude, this all hinges on Howie Mandel.
Mandel.
She was just gonna be a funny fucking girl who kind of spent too much time with people who make money off of gambling, and then Howie Mandel introduced her to his son-in-law, this guy Dr. Hollywood. As he calls himself.
Right. He's the one who did that.
He's the one who actually set up the rug pull. As far as I can tell, she is wrapped up in this thing that she probably doesn't fully understand how it all works, because most people don't. I only vaguely understand cryptocurrency, partially because partially because I like arguing with people on the internet who are dumb, and partially because I used to use it to buy drugs on the internet in 2013 for 35 BTC, the good old days.
Yeah,
like the Silk Road.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, dude, the OG Silk Road.
That, the literal oh my God.
Good times. Although also I don't know.
That's pretty crazy.
Even then I was also there's some libertarian bullshit leanings to a lot of what was going on, but we're all striking while the iron was hot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I got a short list of celebrities I'm making too, of celebrities I'm seeing in a shitload of gambling advertisements, Post Malone. Motherfucker, if you're ever listening to this, Post Malone, I will never forgive you for endlessly polluting my phone with your Hard Rock Casino ads and your stupid mustachioed soy face after you land that. Oh my God, I'm so sick of all the gambling ads. And I wanted to ask y'all too, does it feel, is it just me, or does it feel like there's been a marked upturn in celebrity endorsements of products and advertisements? Am I going crazy, or do I feel like it, there was a time where advertisements were advertisements and sometimes there were celebrity endorsements, and now it feels like every single advertisement for anything has a very high profile celebrity endorsement. It's really weird, and honestly, like I can't look at it as anything else but just like a sign of American decline and all these people trying to get a bag while they can. You know, like it's crazy. But am I alone in that? Do y'all see that too?
I wanted to also. I don't think we actually did manage to introduce ourselves. So maybe
that should happen. Yeah, do it.
Well, okay. Well, I guess I'm Krokus, and I'm here.
You heard me.
Krokus. You know, we can replace your name in post.
Yeah,
that's all right. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, and we got. I don't know if you heard me before. Yeah, you did, but we got Mr. Axiom here. Also, I was thinking we'd call him the Grand Wizard, which we're trying to take back from the clan. But if that doesn't work, he's got his own. He can come up with his own name there too.
I'll come up with my own thing.
What do you got? What do you got for us there? What are you trying to? Oh, hold on. Let me watch stream.
Oh.
So Flintstones Winston ad.
Mm-hmm. They have the pure white filter.
I can't see shit on this.
Yeah, it's not. It's dry.
Oh, there we go. Now I got Barney and Fred smoking cigarettes on screen, which is pretty... That's the episode art right there. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, so, in terms of worrying about our current time...
well...
I'm leaving this
I don't think that we shouldn't, but I also think it's always important to remember.
That's unfortunately unwatchable right now.
Is it not coming
need better Wi-Fi killer, but
dang, too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I got a still of Fred Flintstone and Barney smoking Winston cigarettes.
Man, that whole time.
I
thought you were watching the whole ad. That's hilarious. So yeah, we'll be editing that out for technical difficulties, but we can all pretend that we just watched an ad where the Flintstones explained Winston cigarettes to you. Which, I was trying to share kind of as a response to the idea that
I still
are celebrities endorsing more things now? Maybe. But, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, we have a lot to get through.
And I've never understood Winston cigarettes better, personally. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I kind of could go for one now. I'm kind of more, I mean, I honestly, I joke, but it's I do miss cigarettes. Vapes are, so, not that I ever smoked cigarettes, but, there's something about the nicotine vaping craze that almost makes me feel, more, there's, something more concerning to me about it. Maybe just because it's such an unknown, but, it's anytime I see someone still, hanging strong, burning cigarettes, I'm like, you know what, respect. That's that's bad, but respect for breaking the mold. So
cigarettes will definitely...
we got a lot of stuff to talk about. What about cigarettes?
Yeah. Oh, cigarettes will definitely kill you. Vapes, we don't really know what they're gonna do. And that's probably better than, something that's definitely gonna kill you. That said, the amount of nicotine in vapes is pretty crazy. And, I smoked a disgusting amount of cigarettes, remembers. I quit, and it was horrible. And I do kind of want to say that, it's sort of, shocking how many young people are kind of smoking. It got me laid, and I had a group of friends who heavily smoked or whatever. But, the ubiquity of, vaping is, a little concerning, but, cigarettes will definitely
and I don't think it's getting anyone anymore either. That's definitely a challenge about it, but, whatever. So, we got a shitload of stuff to talk about. We really do.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing bad, we're trying to make the most of it, but, there's so much insane shit going on, so I'll hand things off to the Commandante here because I know he's got some clips lined up. And let's see. I mean, where were we gonna start? I mean,
I'm sharing a screen here, so I mean, trying to get through the countless things that have happened since the last time we did a news update.
Oh my God, I know. It sucks.
And the overwhelming part about it is that basically the administration is coming in with a blitzkrieg strategy, which is intended to overwhelm people in every aspect all at once, which is basically a totalitarian mindset, really.
Yeah. And we have it on record, too, from a recording we did not, like, terribly long ago before Christmas that, Elon, to my mind, is the Hitlerian figure to watch. It's like Trump is one thing, but, like, and I've only felt more vindicated in that assessment over the course of this administration so far because I have, like, he's always been such a piece of shit. And especially after, like, the overt right-wing turn, he's only deepened that further. And, like, I guess we could start with the Sig Heil. Like, what the
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Dude, like, what did that really, just checking, that really happened? You all saw that. All three of you other people saw the SS style, like, Third Reich style Sig Heil.
Aggressively, yeah.
Aggressively.
No, wait a minute. No, I'm not sure I really understand. What are you talking about? He did what now?
No, the thing is that you guys don't understand is that he's autistic, so that's actually fine to do that when you're autistic.
Right.
And my husband is autistic, so I know about that. He's like,
Okay.
Yeah, and some of them just sometimes see Heil. Is that what happens?
Yeah. So autistic, you're a Nazi. That's well. And I was talking with my brother about it a little bit, and it's like, forget anything this mother has ever said. Like, pretend he's never said. Like, you don't have to pay attention to his retweets and the apology tour he had to go on to appease the ADL, which was immediately caping for him. That was right. And you know what they're doing too, like, that just recently came out, is they've recently put white South African farmers under, like, a protected class of migrants who are allowed in the U.S. And that is just, like, one of those dog whistles that you have to really be deep into this to catch and understand really well the relationship between Israel and ethno-nationalism in South Africa, to like again, taking no words at all, just looking at this guy's goddamn familial history and relationship to South Africa is, like, pretty obvious.
Insidious.
I mean, yeah, Krokus, I remember a time where you did a paper on de-Antwoord. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Also, South Africans who also took a Nazi turn, right?
Yeah, they did turn out to be total shitheads. That's true. That was.
I don't know about the small woman, probably, but
I think she was bad too. Yeah, I mean, she was also married to the guy who was
right.
But they were white South Africans, so I should have known. Like, I don't.
Yeah, it's not. You're not, like, predetermined to be a Nazi if you're a white South African, but if you're not, like,
it doesn't help,
critical of the state that you're from, then it's gonna happen. So I don't know. Right. I mean,
I don't know enough about their heel turn to talk about die-Antwoord specifically. I've just heard, like, bad things, but, like, Elon, I feel like I spent a large portion of my life thinking that Elon was just, like, a stupid asshole. And I do still think that, but I also think maybe I was underestimating something about him. Not in, like, but like
other people's love for him
or something. I don't know. Like, he just seems to always, like, land on his stupid feet. But he also, like, I also had this, like, optimistic perspective, and I think other people thought this, that, like, by now or soon after, like, inauguration, that Trump would, like, tire of him and, like, get rid of him. And, like, it's well, I don't know, I guess that could still happen, but it doesn't seem like it's happening at all. Like, it seems like they're getting, like, closer and closer, and Elon's taking, like, more and more power over, which seems like the sort of thing that would really piss Trump off, but he doesn't seem to care. Like, I would give any amount of money to see, like, what they're like when they're alone in a room together with each other.
Yeah, right. There's, like, even a new faction forming with, like, they call her the Ice Queen, the chief of staff, who was formerly, like, a Florida campaign manager, I think. And she basically was trying to push Elon into, like, out of the West Wing and into another building, essentially. And I have that article here from the Times.
Yeah, and it just didn't do anything. Like, he was just like, no, I'll take a couple more buildings. Actually, I'll take over.
Yeah. Did anyone see Did anyone see Bill Gates telling Elon basically to, like, chill?
No.
It was pretty funny.
What was his reasoning? Yeah, show us that one.
I'll show you.
We wanted to get a different perspective.
Are you hearing it?
Parties. I'm surprised by that. I'm very careful to say Elon's super smart. His private sector work is
look at this
fantastic. I'm surprised the number of things he states opinions on. I've always had friends around me who make sure I don't spout off on too many things all at the same time.
Says the guy who went to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Says the guy,
he's like, dude, where are your friends? He doesn't have any.
Yeah, what? Yo, and me and Mr. the Axiom were talking earlier this week too about how just like there's no sure sign of a insufferable moron than someone who's absolutely sure of how smart they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like considers themselves a genius. Like that is just a surefire sign that you're dealing with a piece of generally stupid person. And it was cracking me up too.
Did you see the thing where Elon cheated in Diablo 4 and claimed he was one of the best in the world, a top 20 in the leaderboard?
Yo. Yes. Let our video game correspondent speak on this.
A couple years ago, he also made the worst Elden Ring build of all time. I've been replaying Elden Ring and thinking about that a lot. He was carrying around 2 shields for absolutely no reason. One of them was just worse, and so then he was slow rolling to carry 2 shields. So yeah, I always thought it was kind of sus. His gamers laurels or whatever, but yeah, now it's pretty much.
And yet the gamers still love him
to exile. Too. Given that,
some of them are turning on him because of this. Because there's a code of honor. If you're gonna cheat in a game and say that you are a top 20 player.
No, but you don't understand it. The Chinese do it, so he had to.
Yeah.
So true.
That's what he said.
Listen to this clip from Joe Rogan. It's hilarious, him bragging about being a top 20 player.
Yeah.
Basically, the top 20 and or even the top 100 is totally dominated by China. It's
really?
Yeah, there's China and a little bit of Korea and Taiwan.
So are you in the top 20 in the world? Or top 20? Wow, in Diablo.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody your handle? No, don't tell them. Don't tell them. It's not worth it.
Well, they actually listed me with my actual name in the list.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
There's only 2 Americans in the top 20. The rest, almost everyone is from Asia. Otherwise,
we were talking about something that.
Joe Rogan. I'm so sick of Joe Rogan.
He's disgusting.
He's such a dumbass. I'm so tired of him. If you're listening, Joe Rogan, you. You. I'm oh my god.
He is
insufferable.
I know.
Anyone here ever listened to? Was anyone here ever a Joe Rogan head? Was anyone here ever part of the Rogan verse?
No.
I wasn't a Rogan head, but I watched occasional interviews.
No, but I have
liked him when he was a Bernie bro.
So.
There was a short time.
Oh, I said no, but I have smoked a shitload of DMT.
Yeah.
But so I've been a wook for a long time, so he's kind of been my nemesis. I also taught philosophy for years, so pretty much the sign that you were going to read an awful paper was someone bringing up Joe Rogan.
Jesus Christ.
And yeah, dude, lots of bad Joe Rogan papers that I had to grade in the city of Santa Cruz. But the main thing about Joe Rogan is that there's kind of it's almost sort of like a symbol for neoliberalism, is that a very right-leaning set of beliefs instantiates itself as a neutral center. And basically what Joe Rogan is doing is he's acting I'm just a very neutral, dumb guy who's just listening to all these different people and taking in all these different views. But then when you look at, the actual curation and the patterns of belief that creates in his fan base.
Yeah, right.
You know, like they're pretty
extremely
conservative. You know, so the main exception is that drugs are fun, and he's not wrong.
Yeah,
it seems like he believes everything that anybody ever says to him that he has on his podcast.
Yeah.
It sucks so bad to me that, like, now whenever you talk to anyone about the stoned ape theory, they assume you have to be a Rogan head. Like, that is, like, one of the most irritating things. Because that is, like, taken out of that context, that is, like, an absolutely insane bit of, like, anthropological... Like, it's a really, like, profoundly consequential anthropological theory, in my opinion. But it's also, like, now just fodder of the Rogan verse. And it's like, it's like, it doesn't mean, I don't know, just that guy so much. It sucks so bad. I can't believe you got people bringing up Joe Rogan in their college papers, dude.
Yeah. Oh, dude, constantly. See, especially because, like, Joe Rogan you know, he has kind of like a wide enough cultural appeal that people who are like weird hippie types, because he like told a lot of people about DMT and DMT rules, like a lot of those people have kind of been into him for a long time. But then he also has this extreme like bro appeal, like both in stand-up and like because he's been involved with like MMA for a long time. And, you know, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been to an MMA fight. It's pretty fun watching some people beat the living piss out of each other.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't really discount that as, like, a cultural force, too.
Oh, yeah,
so there's all these different people who, like, he has lots of things that he's going to be able to sort of bring them in about. And then, you know, he can just kind of, like, act like this neutral, stoned guy, which, like... I mean, hey, man, I've been a neutral stoned guy. It's a pretty fun, like, act to play, but then it's more like the broad like, curation of content that he's going to give you. Because he will have people like Bernie Sanders on there, but then he's going to have, like, Richard Spencer,
it's just annoying
and he's going to have Alex Jones come on, like, a billion
and a bunch of billionaires.
People are so malleable. It's so annoying.
And,
it's like this is like who is this guy? Like this is the guy you're informing your beliefs off of? Like it's infuriating.
And now he's playing like total defense for corporations like Facebook.
Well, that's
like
the
he brought on Zuckerberg the other day, which was really interesting. When he was trying to pretend that he didn't know what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was.
Yeah, I saw
which was really revealing.
That was so
He was
crazy.
like playing dumb.
It was like, we're just a simple little social media company. Like, we're not trying to control the transaction.
We don't do anything illegal. Why would the government look into us? Like, they're just after us for no reason, bro. Like, and Rogan's just sitting there, not doing any sort of like journalistic due diligence, asking him like why this thing called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau would be after him. And maybe it's for like selling people's data and sorts of illegal things like that.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Allegedly illegal. We should say allegedly illegal.
I also saw a clip of him just like credulously reading somebody's like list off of Twitter of all the like insane USAID was funding.
I was going to talk about that. Yes.
Which is like I don't know. Okay, so I actually think I've been thinking about this a lot. I think part of the media literacy problem that we have right now, like, yes, there is like a lack of people learning how to question sources and stuff like that. But also I think a lot of it stems from a crisis of like many people, for many reasons, myself included, no longer trust the mainstream media. And so a lot of like the news sources that we used to believe were unbiased or trustworthy,
neutral.
We no longer think that, right? Like, for me, it was like Palestine was kind of my breaking point. Yeah. Like, so now like we're like, so I'll be like, oh my God, how can these right wingers believe all this just because they read it on Twitter? And then I realized that I literally do the same thing with TikToks. If it's coming from someone who I trust, I have a tendency to believe it without fact checking it. I do that too. Well, because like it is really hard these days. Like it's such a free for all with like information sources. Like it is truly like really hard to know like who to trust, and everyone's going to get it wrong sometimes.
Going back to something said earlier too, it's like all the people of influence essentially have all decided to jump aboard this grift of saying, I didn't leave the left, the left left me. And like many of them, like Musk, literally posting little memes of that kind of concept, saying like, oh, I was the normal center, and having to defend things like a trans bathroom pushed me away. Oh my God. Which is like a way of normalizing fascism, essentially.
Yes.
There's so many things that you can just, if you hear someone put this out of their mouth, you can immediately write them off as a grifting piece of shit. One of them is like anything about like trans athletes, trans bathrooms. The other one is like, oh, this country's so close to being communist. If you hear something like, for all the like any like little babies out there listening who might like not be clear on this, if you hear some ass telling you about how America was almost a communist country, it's like they're dumb and they're either dumb or lying to you or both.
Or poison their brain.
Krokus, they're stupid. They're stupid. You shouldn't listen to them, Krokus. I'm so glad you brought up that specific clip because I was watching that earlier, also probably on Hassan's stream. But may his name be blessed. There is the guy. Oh, that guy's a
hot Turkish man who's gonna save us all.
The guy who Rogan is talking to in that clip, I was like, don't I know this
beautiful thighs?
And his name is Brett Weinstein, and I know him because I have a friend who I've been having talks with who like this was her like radicalization point was like during the pandemic, like being like questioning everything about like like questioning everything about like the world's public health system. And like this guy was like her guy, and it's got me thinking a lot about like the dialectical method and the dialectical understanding of history in the world, and how it is such a crucial thing to get when we're talking about literacy and like being able to break these things down, because ultimately it's like when you have a good like ideological heuristic, media literacy is important, but you can also just like have a good sensibility for like what is bullshit, what is not, based on just that like that ideological heuristic and like Occam's razor. And USAID is the USAID situation is such a good example of this, where all these dum-dums cannot look at this situation with any like actual critical dialectical analysis of the thing, and they're too stupid to understand the general leftist critique of USAID, which isn't simple, but that's not how reality is. And I'll sort of try and articulate it. The Ukraine conflict's pretty similar, where it's like there's no real like good winning side to the issue. There's no binary way to put it. USAID, while also doing a lot of positive things in the world, certainly is unequivocally an instrument of global, U.S. soft power.
Soft power.
And on and on top of that, has absolutely been complicit in some really monstrous shit. So, like, the leftist reaction to something like USAID being completely destroyed is, it's concerning, but it's also not like a thing where we're, like, I don't see, not that that's a unified entity at all, the American left, but it's like, there's not a lot of, like, huge tears being spilt over the thing, because by the same token, you have these heads being like, now we can't make as much propaganda about how China sucks, and it might become obvious that they're like, have a more functioning society than we do and a better functioning government. And so it's like there's always like a dialectic to engage in when you're trying to understand complex stuff. And anyone who's feeding you some really simplistic, obvious explanation is a dumb head. Just write them off.
And it's like, it's like that thing where if currently a reactionary strategy is essentially to just read a complex procedure, like a surgery. Like if you were to describe the surgery of a rhinoplasty, it sounds horrific. Like they basically bring that out, the guts of it, and that's kind of what Elon's trying to do by hacking the treasury right now. He's like claiming to unveil these new secretive things about USAID that nobody's ever heard of before. And really, there's nothing all that nefarious there, so they're lying. And one of the things that they've lied about is that there's $50 million of condoms being shipped to Gaza.
I was going to bring that up.
Do you know? Okay, do you want to know what's crazy about that one specifically?
Please.
The first time I heard him say it, he said condoms to Gaza. The next time I heard him say it, Trump, he said condoms for Hamas, and then he said they're going to use the money use them to make bombs. So I watched the lie change in real time.
And then since then, he actually doubled it to $100 million. To put the whole thing into perspective, only $7 million are purchased by the entirety of U.S. aid, and the majority of them go to Africa.
I think. Well, I don't know. I saw some infographic that said it was actually for a different place called Gaza that was in Africa instead, but I don't know if that's true.
Well, and just to reiterate, the danger of this completely reactionary one-dimensional thinking, it's because this all comes from this this stupid-ass belief in meritocracy and in the myth of competency that genuinely all these people want is DEI for white people, but they couch it in this idea that we're the most competent, and that's why we have these broccoli head 19-year-olds hacking the because they're super competent, and that's why they got the big job at X and all this dumb bullshit. And it's all fucking horse shit. And just again, the danger of this stuff is to overlook the nuanced process of discovering truth. It's not like a linear process. It's not something you can just look at and be so smart that you can just deduce the whole thing down to a simple bite-sized piece of information.
All of USAID is a scam. I figured it out.
I mean, just to lift an example from Blue Sky is the GLP-1 Ozempic discovery happened when they were studying the saliva of lizards, and they figured out something about that that led to the discovery of Ozempic, which, whatever can be said about it, is a life-changing world. It's that is a crazy important discovery, and it's a good thing
Alex
in a lot
Jones
of senses.
Turning the story of their turning the frogs gay is also backed by a grain of truth that just certain scientific experiments had yielded results, basically, that certain things would make frogs, their cells split in a way that could be forced, gender or something like that. So it's a complete obscuring of some of the things that are happening in scientific research, and just like Alex Jones does, basically trying to pose it as demonic or something scary and nefarious to worry about.
So, as we all know, the purpose of this podcast is to figure out how to solve all of our country's problems. So, my question for y'all is, so I feel like when I see insane claims about something like USAID, regardless of what else I may believe or know about the organization and its use for American soft power and stuff, when I see these stupid lists of crazy shit that he says we're paying for across any organization, right? Because they're going to do this every time. Oh my God, look at all this shit that we were, and it's all going to be bullshit, right? I can look at those and immediately think well, that doesn't seem right. So let me look further
and
into
look
that,
it up.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we get, and I think part of it is because I may be more inclined than the average MAGA person to believe that the government probably wouldn't just tuck in something that insane for or because I understand enough to know that it would be ideologically completely inconsistent for, why would they be doing that for Hamas, for example? How do we get people to develop that instinct of just they don't have to completely disregard something offhand, but how do we get people to build up their instinct of let me check at least one more source before I just believe what I saw on Twitter? How can we personally solve this problem?
I don't have I think
we just need to laugh
pretty one.
At the absurdity of it, and I don't know.
Look, I arrived at this conclusion many years ago while living in some of the deepest red parts of the country. It's not a pretty sound. It's not a pretty phrase. People don't like this expression, but there's some fucking people in this country who need to be put in some re-education camps. And it's that simple. You know what? You can be so goddamn stupid that you're a threat to society and you need to be isolated from society and educated by force and even do some good productive labor so you learn about the real. Like, I was thinking about this today. I was like, I'm getting ready to mop my house, and I'm like, would I trust someone like Elon Musk or his Doge people to mop a floor correctly? No. I don't think those people know how to do that. Like, there's so many dumb basic shits that I don't, like, these people just don't even get. And it's like, you know what? 5 years of having to mop a large, like a plane hangar would probably do some good for these people. But what were you going to say there, Mr. Axe? Did you have something are you against re-education camps?
Okay, so I want to... Yeah,
you there?
I am, first of all, because I'm anti-authoritarian. Second of all, what I want to put forward is that you're falling into the very trap of neoliberalism by focusing
I'm falling into a trap.
Epistemic issues on an individual level. So what I want to put forth is, taking the work of someone like Jose Medina, who wrote the Epistemology of Resistance, is that, like, differently situated people are going to have different access to abilities to know things. And so if we're going to, like, try to address the problems of why people have bullshit, dumbass beliefs or beliefs that seem like bullshit, dumbass to us, we have to address the problems of, like, how much access to education they have, how their surrounding environment influences them. Brought up the point that has a set of TikToks that she'll believe.
And sometimes they're wrong. 100%.
We're all human.
Yeah, and even if they're not wrong, even if they're better, it's sort of how much of it is a matter of the people you grew up around and and you trust that just happen to be the people who give you good information,
Yeah,
so
totally.
If we want to address this, I think the constant trap of our time is taking things that are really caused by huge economic conditions and acting like, well, if you just worked harder, you'd be better at capitalism.
That is really the dialectic
the same is true for knowing
approach.
Things. Like, it's easy to be like, I have a shitload of education. It's super easy for me to fact check things and trust scientists or whatever. But remember that kid whose house you would go to because they had, like, Playboys and Eminem CDs and, like, it was a little up, but it was lots of fun.
We're not all getting equal education everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah, that kid is going to get most of their news from new media sources like Joe Rogan or whatever. Yeah. And so, like, even trying to address that, like, I don't think we can take it on, like, an individualistic scale. I think we got to, like, grasp at the root and look at how we can change the general economic conditions.
Exactly. The real problems are structural issues, systemic issues, like who owns things like social media. Like, I think clearly the power grab of Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and taking something that was extremely useful from the perspective of a commons standpoint of view and completely privatizing that and fragmenting the ability for media to have, like, a go-to social media that would be put as a news ticker and things like that. I think that really had a really destructive effect on society. Yeah. And it goes to show that basically people being able to own things that are that powerful, like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, is really a critical problem for society.
Yeah, or the billionaires who bought the all the newspapers.
The original problem had been, like, ground newspapers, and now it's becoming billionaires owning essentially social media platforms is now a major inherent problem for any sort of democratic society. And I want to have a discussion about the book Techno-Feudalism at some point, so this is me plugging that right now. But we're not going to go too into depth about that. But what you're talking about, I think, Axe, is basically like a structural materialist understanding of the problem. So we're not blaming individuals, but understanding the real systemic issues at hand. And so moving forward with news, I think this is a great point to get into the TikTok ban, which was a major part. Oh yeah, if you want to go, Lucas,
I just want to say one last thing because I thank you for tempering my worst instincts there. You're absolute. I know I'm wrong. I love you too. I know I'm wrong.
No problem.
It's
love
more
you,
like
buddy.
Just a place of anger and frustration from having to like hear so much of that. And you don't make your. That's where reactionary thinking comes from. And then also like. I do think that like maybe re-education camp's the wrong term, but like an adult daycare of some kind is some.
Yeah, we can sell it to them in like a really fancy way.
Just somewhere that these people can go to just learn some shit. And maybe they're not imprisoned there, but like it is just such a problem. I don't know. And like I think increase I don't know. Whatever. So yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, now I think is a good point to talk about the TikTok ban, which we haven't gotten to talk about.
I also just want to say,
and that was early on in the Trump administration. We're now about 2 weeks into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that already feels now like years ago.
Yeah.
But
we can put it in the category of Democrat self-owns. What were you saying?
I mean, it is years ago. Trump started.
Yup.
Oh, it is years ago that Trump started the effort to actually shut down TikTok, which is also, so I want to point out, one of the big things about Trump is that, like, essentially, Obama's whole strategy was to be center-left but use leftist aesthetics, and it made it seem like, well, the aesthetics are kind of worthless and not very dangerous, but, he's essentially a centrist. Trump, for his first term, used fascist aesthetics, but didn't really have, at least economically, very many fascist policies. Now, the main one that would be, classically fascist, because the classic fascist economic thing is reassigning, factories and businesses and shit to, a certain set of people,
Yeah, that's super fascist.
And TikTok, banning TikTok for xenophobic reasons. And I say this while I simultaneously think TikTok is a huge problem and kind of evil. But banning TikTok seemed like, this is actually an economically fascist policy decision.
It's imperialist-minded against China as a way to attack China's valuable capital, going back to essentially what I had been talking about with billionaires owning social media. Now the major form of property, which is the most valuable in the world, is centered in Silicon Valley in the United States and in China. And those two countries are basically battling it out. And I think it's important to see the TikTok ban as a form of economic warfare that's taking place. Because at the same time, like you said, this happened years ago during Donald Trump's first administration. He was already working on TikTok bans, and that was really a dual approach at attacking China's economy, both on the ground with the tariffs that he had implemented and simultaneously their untariffable form of rent extraction that they have from social media, which is the key to our economic power at the top of the world right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're right to think it is Chinese soft power, and it's like, I think that's good. That's good. I'm glad. Thank God.
Yeah, it's soft power. It's a battle of soft power between the two economic forces of the U.S. and China.
I invite more of your soft power, President Xi. Please give me. It's so soft, and please, I like it so much. And I agree too that the TikTok style of social media is a problem. It is a disturbing. It is the most drug-like form of social media I've ever used. And I honestly, you guys don't clown on me for this, but I probably use YouTube Shorts more than anything else.
Do you have it? Are you on TikTok?
I am not on TikTok.
So okay, so which platforms are you referring to? I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I think it's I can't even watch a YouTube video about TikTok without having to stop in the middle and watch TikToks. Like, it's definitely completely my attention span.
I use YouTube Shorts like every day, and it's
which sucks
stupid.
compared to TikTok.
Sucks.
By the way,
it's so, and that's honestly part of why I'm like cool with this, because I'm like I know that from what I understand, TikTok is so much better that I know from my exposure to YouTube Shorts that like I would be completely with TikTok, because like and I use Instagram Reels sometimes too, because it's real. Like Instagram Reels cat content is really, really good. And then YouTube Shorts has a lot of like weird niche things, but yeah, they both suck really in totality. And I understand TikTok should be a lot better, but it's like that's kind of why I stay off it. And now it's illegal anyway.
Well,
so
no.
and once again too, I got to say about the TikTok ban, make sure I like underscore this: self-owned by the fucking Democrats. My
Absolutely.
God, they completely the dog on that one. Like,
I'm curious, like what you. So there was a very strong sort of, I guess, like narrative or assignment of intention on my For You page when it comes to why the Democrats did that, and it had to do directly with Palestine, and the fact that this platform, that TikTok was like the most pro-Palestine platform. It was certainly like what caused me to actually start paying attention, because I would get Bisan on my For You page, and she was and she was right in there, and she was like giving it, like you could not ignore the fact that like what the news was saying was completely one-sided and inaccurate, because you were seeing like what people were going through like day to day on the ground. And like that, they said like it had to do with national security. I'm sure there are aspects of that may be true, although they never provided any actual like proof or details of anything that they saw. But like everybody was convinced that it was mainly about like shutting down sort of that angle of thinking, or that ability for people to sort of communicate with each other on stuff. And then it obviously ended up being a cell phone anyway.
Yeah, it was like shutting down communication. And for a short time, everyone was joking about how it actually made the Chinese people and American people communicate even more with one another, until
that was a beautiful moment.
We joked about on our Orion interview how basically it's like a mob deal, because Trump is so transactional that essentially the situation that shook out was that they decided to share the rent that they're going to charge from people's attention, which, again, can't be tariffed. I think that's a major thing to understand, how the TikTok ban is an attack on their, as Yanis Varoufakis in his techno-feudalism book would call it, cloud capital.
He just can't help himself.
I'm plugging that book again.
It's a good book.
Because we're gonna do a breakdown of that at some point. But yeah, so also I think related to that, which happened recently, is the DeepSeek bubble, unless anyone else has something to say on TikTok.
Oh my God. No, we should talk about the DeepSeek bubble though. That was another sick moment of Chinese ascendance.
I do have something.
Along with the red note thing was cool.
I do have like one or two more things to say about the TikTok ban, since this is my one
opportunity. As the TikTok correspondent. Yeah, please.
Yes, right, please. I'm the TikTok correspondent. So one thing is the whole red note thing was extremely funny, and also I think a really fascinating cultural moment. People are still on Red Note or a Red Book, or it's a little Red Book. Are still on there interacting with Chinese people, and they took a lot of like cross-cultural like tips about how to like eat to make themselves feel better, and there was just like a lot of cross-cultural discussion that never would have happened if it weren't for the TikTok ban, that I think was like really fun and interesting to watch. I downloaded Red Note, but I never created an account, so I didn't see it firsthand, but I saw a lot of people reporting back about it on TikTok before the ban happened. And then the other thing I wanted to tell y'all about was the little panic misinformation moment that happened right after the TikTok came back up. We didn't really talk about. Speaking of misinformation, we were talking about earlier. So TikTok was down for like 16 hours or something. And when it came back up, it didn't seem the same in a lot of ways. And people started making all these sort of abstract connections about how they thought that basically people immediately started feeling suspicious. I mean, there are things to feel suspicious about. The pop-ups that both pop-ups pre-shutdown and post-shutdown had Donald Trump's name in them, and the one that when it came back was like, "Thank you to Donald Trump exclusively for now, because of Donald Trump you can do all this great stuff on TikTok again." So it was like very propaganda.
Yeah,
And then I think
it was made into a big win for Trump, unfortunately.
Yes, and I think they were demonstrably also like being more censorious after that. That was like Inauguration Day and beyond. Like it is harder to get the message out about certain things, or like I think they're working with him on that a little bit too, to be honest with you. But at the time there was this huge like belief among a lot of people on TikTok that Meta had secretly bought it or some portion of it. Like I remember texting you about it, and and I was like a little caught up in it too. And then Hank Green popped up, as he often does, to calm the temperature of the people on TikTok, and said, "Guys, this couldn't possibly have happened. So like relax. Like it's just not possible for something that big to happen without like public reportings and stuff like that." So
yeah, it happens to the best of us, I guess, at the pace that media moves today.
But
right, exactly.
Hank Green has also been struggling since inauguration. He was like yelling at people about how they don't know shit about that like plane crash that happened recently on TikTok in a very funny, good-natured way. But yeah.
I'm glad. If you want, we could go talk about the plane crash. Yeah, I have the plane crashes on here.
This just sucks so much. The country's just being run by literally the stupidest heads possible. Like I don't know. I think. Are we ready to move on from TikTok? I think we are.
I'm ready.
I think we got everything.
Do you want to talk about Trump blaming DEI, or do you want to talk about the DeepSeek? I think both are relevant.
The DeepSeek thing was, I don't know. What do you think, Ax?
Just one thing after another, man. Jesus Christ. You gotta throw in like a human interest piece. You gotta be like, this elementary school made the biggest cookie in all of Massachusetts. You know, we need a couple of human interest stories here.
Something cute. I mean, my cat's over here being cute. That's a nice little story, I guess. I got some nice plants blooming in the garden. But yeah, I mean, did anyone play around with DeepSeek? I know Vane was using it.
No, I don't really with AI.
Yeah, I was using DeepSeek a little bit. It's pretty cool now that it's free. I was interested, of course, when you started hearing about the Chat GPT thing, but then you look into it and it's like, they're going to charge like a monthly subscription to it. And like most people, I think I said, F that. And so I never tried it. And therein lies the whole thing that popped the AI bubble basically on Monday, a week after Trump's inauguration, I believe. There was $1 trillion sell-off in the tech markets, the United States tech market, that moved over to DeepSeek, which was funded by $5.5 million US, I believe, to be almost actually a better replica of ChatGPT's model that is less energy consumptive. ChatGPT's was notorious for every 100 letters, I believe, burning through 3 bottles of water, is my understanding. And China managed to do it much more efficiently by basically reverse engineering. And there's been a lot of complaints about their doing this. But I think that's actually kind of ironic, because really what ChatGPT was and what this AI is essentially publicly funded, publicly subsidized data that has been essentially turned over for free or extremely cheap without Americans' consent to these programs that essentially are using your and my data and then trying to charge us a price for that. And so China basically is doing something more competitive from both a communistic and capitalistic framework, really, it seems, in releasing the same thing for free. And it's been interesting playing with it, actually, as a songwriting tool or things like that. script writing tool. You can put in an idea and it instantly generates a script. It's pretty cool.
The other thing about it, beyond the fact that it is apparently uses less energy and is free, is that it's also open source, at least to an extent.
Exactly.
And I know that like the training data has not been disclosed, but it's something that people can like actually see how it works and replicate it and
Right.
download it and run it locally, which is like OpenAI, despite the name, is a completely like closed box in terms of the model, which also just makes it feel a lot more like, I guess, like threatening, and like I've never liked it for
and
environmental
like
reasons,
a lot of
but...
Silicon Valley tech companies, basically it's generated its value basically purely on hype, and according to like fundamentals of investing from like an old school standpoint, like a Warren Buffett investment standpoint, he would say that essentially those companies are highly overvalued and speculative. And the reason is because they stand on a lot of legal liability, like artists being able to prove that their lyrics have been recycled through this algorithm and being able to sue OpenAI for charging money and making money off of something like that.
Well, it's similar to crypto, where it's like it is the purview of this ideological like cargo cult that's now running everything, that is just basically a technological tool that they are developing to enshrine their own like absolutely radical and monstrous proprietarian beliefs about the state. And basically, like, I mean, here I am plugging Giannis Varoufakis, but these people are literally trying to reinvent feudalism, and it's so it's like we were talking about earlier, of these people with this incredible self-regard for themselves that think they're the most brilliant, when in reality they're just scamming each other, and everyone's trying to become a little king of their own little fief, and it's infuriating. And the thing with AI too is that, like, I mean, I hope Axe has some experience with this too he can speak to, with like Californians, because that's where so many of these people are based. And like AI, like there are the true believers. There is a real like religious tenor to what these people are doing with AI. And I shit you not, there's a great, if any TrueAnon heads that might be listening, if you haven't listened to the story, their recent episodes about the Zizians, the like rationalist cult that's arisen out of this, it's so worthwhile. And all of the like rationalists of Silicon Valley are so deeply entrenched in both of these things. We're talking about crypto and AI. And AI, they literally see it as like this quasi-religious project where if they do not contribute to reinventing this technological god, then they will be trapped and tortured forever by that same technological god when it is created. And this is the idea of Rocco's Basilisk, if you ever heard of it. It is literally, and this has already been said so many times over, but it's so true. It's literally the chain text you used to get in the early 2000s of like, oh, if you don't send this to 10 people, then you're going to get fucking cursed. It's literally these stupid pieces of shit getting themselves riled up over this shit, but then using it to justify building the technology that they believe will destroy the world. They believe this, and they're trying to do it so that they can get there first. I hate these people. I fucking hate them. Holy shit. And they run everything. So I guess who are we to call them stupid? Just I mean, Axe, have you had like any, I think I asked you this already once, but like, have you had any like run-ins with like crypto or like self-described like rationalists?
Oh yeah. Tons of people like that, which is weird because like, so, you know, somebody studied philosophy for way too long. Like, they're not rationalists in the sense of like, you know, they aren't Cartesian, like, rationalists or, like, Humean, like, empiricists or whatever.
No, it's like cynicism, like Roman cynicism, right?
No, they're, like, so it's more like they're people who mostly do a job, right? And most of the time they're you know, working on debugging or whatever, or, like, whatever particular thing that they do. And then when they're on their lunch breaks or whatever, they have like a passing interest in the topics of like philosophy and shit like that. But more so what they're into is the idea that their skills in coding or engineering, and by the way, I'll say coding, pretty fucking easy. I taught myself how to do that when I was high.
It's not this like
mostly like
ubermensch science.
You just Google how do I do this thing, and then you debug,
copy and paste other people's code.
Yeah. So they think though, because of the Dunning-Kruger effect, if you don't know that much about philosophy, it's easy to have these big ostentatious opinions in it. And then those opinions are probably just going to be whatever you're biased to believe because you don't really know shit about it,
Yeah.
So it's like on their lunch break or when they're at the bar, but they're not even really at the bar that much because like they don't really want to live here.
No.
They're moving away from the Bay Area a lot, too.
Yeah, they want to live on Mars like Elon.
Yeah, it looks wonderful, Mars.
So they fucking, so they just kind of have this, like, very passing conversational interest in things like philosophy and, like...
But they have such self-regard that they think they can just fucking get the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's like how Elon, we were talking about him earlier and how he's willing to cheat at video games. Yeah. And it really reveals, essentially, if you're willing to pay someone in Asia or multiple people in Asia to be constantly playing a video game so that you can say you're in the top 20 in the world leaderboard while you're the CEO of like 7 companies and you claim that you work like 120 hours a week. There's not enough time, obviously. Anyone with any mind whatsoever recognizes there's not enough time in the world for a person to do that.
Yeah.
So once you recognize that a person is willing to say, oh yeah, this account that I bought is me, you recognize essentially they're willing to do that with inventions. They're willing to do that with other people's work to every extent, saying if I paid for someone else to do this work, it's essentially no different from me having done that work myself. And in that case, that makes me like a superhuman Egyptian god type sort of pharaoh or something. That's how grandiose these people think of themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the thing about life is that there's so much fucking shit that you could possibly know that every single person is a dumbass when it comes to the vast majority of things. And Elon Musk is an example of someone who does not seem to understand this fact, or maybe he does, but he just acts like he doesn't because he has some weird other plan. I don't know what's going on in his head. But I can say that, there's this big thing in Silicon Valley of, thinking that they're the smartest people.
100%.
They have, a eugenicist viewpoint about it a lot of the time, and, a lot of them are, trying to have kids out the wazoo. And there's this idea of, we are generally smart. And that's pretty much a surefire sign that someone's a dumb Because, that's the thing. You can know a lot about, 7 things. I know a lot about philosophy. I know a lot about hash.
Yeah. And then you become stupid about other things.
Psychedelics.
I can't cook for shit.
And
that's okay.
Other things I am at best a beginner level of competence. Oh, I know how the waves work, but and I'd say I'm a pretty relatively intelligent person if such a thing exists, which I don't think it does. But you really can't know about more than 7 things.
These people, they have no appreciation for the human tapestry. And the other thing I want to say is, I was thinking about this today while I was out walking my dogs. There's this real neo-Calvinist morality to these people, too, that, goes so deep and is so entrenched in the fucking tech industry.
Yeah,
because,
deterministic.
Honestly, I think about this as, okay, why the do these people think that they are this godlike, like they have this like ubermensch level of competency that they can assess and understand anything through the tool of
it's
technology?
Predetermined.
Well, you got the fancy job, you studied the right stuff, you got the good job, you're paid the good salary, therefore
born in the right family, the South African mineral mining family.
No, it's all comes from, I did all that shit because I got to that level and because I got that nice tech engineer salary. That proves a level of merit that, they don't all think this way, but a lot of them really do think that, like, oh, I got to X level of, economic security, and therefore I must have some superior intellect in some form. And it's like, actually, dude, the reality of compensation under capitalism is it has nothing to do with merit. It has nothing to do with hard work. It has everything to do with your negotiating position in relation to the people who have the money. And as a person who works in sales, I know this for a goddamn fact. It's the same reason that the servers in a restaurant tend to make much better money than everyone else, especially the person washing the dishes. It's not because they're stupider. It's not because they're not working harder. It's because you are there talking to the people who have the money and they need something from you specifically that you're able to provide. And the other thing that these shitheads don't understand is that all this AI all this like learn to code has always just been a project to drive their own wages down. So there's going to be a real crisis of confidence amongst these people at some point. You're already seeing it on some level where the tech sector has undeniably gotten shittier to work in, from what I understand of the younger people I've talked to in that sector. But like that's what it is. It's like these people have a fundamental misunderstanding of where the value of money comes from, and therefore when they look at their own salaries, they draw these insane conclusions that don't account properly for why you're paid that. It's not because of merit, you piece of shit. It's because you're a part of a labor pool that has a very good specific negotiating position in relation to capital at this time, and they're trying their best to change that, and you're doing everything you can to give them all the tools to do that because you're afraid of the techno god is gonna torture you forever, you dumb piece of shit.
Yeah, and the H-1B thing, which wasn't even written on my plan, but I think is good to go quickly over, relates to that basically, because he was using that as a way of displacing these tech workers who do go to school, and at the same time had laid off like some over 1,000 people at Tesla. So as you were saying, basically, the tech sector is getting increasingly shittier for these people, and the pressure is being put on them, essentially, even in these high educated tech positions, and basically signaling, no, we're going to replace your jobs with someone who's cheaper from a third world country, essentially.
Yeah. I also need to say something about AI, because I need to say a couple things about like the actual practicalities of AI. The first one is putting aside the like DeepSeek, because I don't know enough about like what it is actually capable of or how it might change the landscape, but I have a deep skepticism that I encourage everyone to consider taking on as well when people say, and that's just what it can do today, imagine what it'll be able to do in a year about anything related to generative AI, because there is the amount of training data that it took to get to here is like practically as much as exists in the world. Like I think we maybe have talked about this before, because I will never shut up about it, but they're having to like consider generating training data using AI to train the AI, which is just going to make the issue of hallucinations worse, which is not a problem that they've solved and is likely to not be a problem that is solvable. And that's the second thing I wanted to say to people, and I'm just going to say this every time anybody brings up AI in my presence for the rest of my life. You cannot trust it. Please do not ask AI for sources and just and even if they give you links, please do not assume that they're correct. Like if you're going to use AI for that, you need to check their sources, because it's just telling you what it thinks you want to hear. That's all it can do. It doesn't think, right? So just please don't trust AI at its word. It's not trustworthy. Like full stop.
Or what people are saying is going to happen because of AI, that we're reaching the singularity. Don't trust them. No. And I think the next thing that we were going to transition to is crypto, which naturally flows from the speculative AI bubble, essentially. And the reason really is for the same reason that you're talking about. I think overall it's the deregulation under neoliberalism that has ultimately eroded the Keynesian state, which used to require proof of something being produced, essentially, in the economy. And there were regulations in place that made it so that you had to prove you weren't running a Ponzi scheme by essentially taking investor money and paying back previous investors with that money, which is not a business model.
Right.
And that ultimately leads to a speculative economy like during the Roaring 20s, which doesn't lead to a good following stage, as we've learned in history. So this deregulatory mindset that we have is obviously going to have consequences, I think, if anyone follows the patterns of history. And it's really this deregulation that ultimately leads to the idea of crypto, which is really embodied in the idea of American business. I think it's kind of central to the idea of expanding westward at first for more land.
Yeah.
And then when the land runs out, we expand in terms of culture with Hollywood and dominate the whole globe with essentially capitalism and culture. We export culture around the world.
And now Trump's trying to also get us more land again. So
yeah, we're reaching now. I think that's really important to see as this pattern of now 2 days before his inauguration, he's opening a crypto coin, his second crypto coin. And it kind of just exemplifies what American business is now. Like in the Roaring 20s.
Wait, he's doing another coin?
No, that was his second coin. That would be crazy. His third coin. That was already his second crypto coin.
What? I forgot. Holy shit.
So before his inauguration, the president is releasing a crypto coin, which he did a rug pull to make several $1 billion. And that's really just exemplary now of what American business is and what it means, how it's going to continue to reinvent itself past Hollywood and exporting influence. That phase of its life is waning, and some new way of reinventing U.S. imperialism has to happen. Right. And that, of course, included the expansionist mindset that you talked about with Panama and Greenland and Mexico and Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about expansionism. It's all about the tendency for the rate of profit to decline. Mm-hmm. And I totally agree that crypto is the new free real estate thing. I don't want to do too much more time on crypto because we really do have to do a whole episode on fiat currency, the gold standard, and all the part of techno-feudalism, because there's so much to get into ideologically about it. And I wanted to honestly, before we get into that stuff, just hit.
Could I just stay on the crypto real quick and play the video I had prepared?
I got one news
with
hit
Trump.
I have to hit before we go to. Yeah, please.
Okay. This one is Trump bragging about his billionaire friends who are sitting behind him at an inauguration and saying that billions is a small amount of money for his new friends.
We should always make sure to get the president on these news episodes when we do them.
Because he's not done very much on that. He's got a lot of power, like we have a lot of power. I said, you ought to get it settled. We did discuss it, yeah.
You launched a crypto coin the other day. Do you intend to continue selling products that benefit yourself personally while you're president?
Well, I don't know if it benefited. I don't know where it is. I don't know much about it other than I launched it. I heard it was very successful. I haven't checked it. Where is it today?
You made a lot of money, sir.
How much?
Several $1 billion, it seems like, in the last several days.
Several billion? That's peanuts for these guys.
Oh my God! They're giving. He's back on the adrenochrome supply. He's getting the good fucking CIA chemicals now. He's looking that's scary as shit to see how he looks. But I don't know how much more time you guys want to do. And there's obviously too much to talk about, but the one thing I really wanted to make sure to hit is the fucking Laken Riley act, because I was really I never want to miss a chance to just express my disgust with the Democratic Party, and especially when they behave like this, because obviously it was a Trump joint all the way through, but that's exactly what we could expect from him and his party the whole time. That's what they've been broadcasting the whole, since birtherism, is that this is how they think, and they want to make immigrants into the gypsies, gay people, cripples, and Jews of the Third Reich. But this being a bipartisan thing, by shocking margins, by 50 congressional Democrats voting to remove habeas corpus, any kind of due process from people who are not of a fully documented status. You can just be imprisoned forever by ICE via accusation. That just
they should be condemned
forever
and shamed.
It's
so hard.
So crazy that we have been talking for an hour and a half and we haven't even gotten to any of the mass deportation stuff, which is this is just kind of indicative.
I really
of,
think
how...
that we almost have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the Democrats have really been really working hard to be bipartisan, which is obviously the most important thing to do in these times.
God.
I
just want to throttle in Diablo 2. I want to throttle these people because the bipartisanship. When will you learn that all you get when you go bipartisan is you lose? That's all that's ever happened. So I don't the Democrats. I'm a broken record on that, and I just wanted to particularly name check every single Democrat in the Senate and in the Congress who voted for the Lake and Riley Act. You're on the same list I got Post Malone on of people who are going to my daycare camps in the dictatorship of Butler.
They're fun. They'll be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We'll have games. It's gonna be game. You can go home at night. It's fine. I don't know. Does anyone have any closing points they want to make? What's up, X?
You're gonna listen to the same song a lot.
Yeah. And you will have to watch some slideshows, and I will be making sure that you can't close your eyes. And, how I do that's up to you. Honestly.
It's going to be okay, though. The song's going to be This Land Is Your Land by Woody Guthrie.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Danny California.
Everybody loves
Danny California. That's if you've been bad as Danny California. You're going to listen to that. Okay.
Yeah.
And
also, it was actually used by people in the Iraq War. Anyways.
Wait, is Danny California really used as a torture tactic?
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they just played it over and over and over again on full volume for awesome. 6 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a horrible country.
Yeah, so they reopened Guantanamo Bay.
We're the bad guys.
We'll obviously have to talk a whole other episode to cover even all the grotesque, horrible stuff that the new administration has done. That was basically
reopened
covering,
Guantanamo
I'd say,
is a good one. We can say thanks Obama for that too. That was another, could another area in which they
thanks Obama, thanks Biden.
Could have punished George
squandered
W. Bush.
The last decent political mandate they'll probably ever get on doing nothing, and then breaking their shoulders, patting themselves on the back for the next 12 years about it. So, yeah, y'all got any closing thoughts or issues you want to make sure to cover before we sign off? Because we're going pretty long.
I wish I never had to hear Elon Musk's name again in my life, and unfortunately, I'm going to hear it and say it so many more times.
Forever, we're never going to be done with that piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
God.
And just like Donald Trump, basically, Elon loves to be the center of attention, loves to be the star of the reality TV show. Mm-hmm. And we're on Apprentice season 29 right now or some absurd number. Yeah. So it's getting exhausting, but be ready for 4 more years of it.
I know.
Right.
I hate them so much.
4 more seasons.
Oh my gosh.
I just want to say I'm way better at doing drugs than Joe Rogan.
Yo. Correct. Yeah.
But yep. Okay.
Well, yeah, and I mean, just last orders of business. I mean, sign up for the Patreon, please. If you a reminder that if you are Elon Musk or a federal agent, you have to sign up for the $10,000 tier. That will get you early access to our crypto rug pull. Called Rug, or we're still workshopping the name.
Rug
but
coin.
Yeah, you're gonna put in a bunch of money and then immediately lose it, but you're gonna be part of a community. So that's really what it's about.
It bonds you together like a bond.
Yeah,
the original purpose of a bond is to tie the owner of the little stock and the bond together, and you're like destined to have some share held together. I'm
also going to bond you to the train tracks.
You're bonded.
Yeah. I'm going to bond you to some train tracks, and we're going to talk about the trolley problem.
In Minecraft.
We're going to do some hypotheticals in Diablo. I mean, that's the Broken Wind podcast. Signing off, and y'all keep your head on a swivel, stay safe, and just don't forget to annoy these people. Every Democrat who voted for the Lake and Riley Act. If you can annoy Elon Musk, I've been in a prolonged X bit where I'm every day post Xing at Elon and Tesla customer service to demand answers on whether it's okay to self-suck while using FSD. And I'm still I'm waiting to hear back from them. And it's, for that guy, that character is just about to start having a really hard time. He's about to get divorced because
he's going through some serious issues.
He's going through some so
liabilities, we'll say.
Mr. Infinity.
Yeah, call your reps and talk to your neighbors. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, be annoying. Find ways to be annoying, and I mean, just take care of yourselves too. Pet your cat. And maybe take a fat dab too. If you got them, light them up. I gotta go mop my floors better than any broccoli-headed 19-year-old ever could. And y'all have a good night. It was good talking to you. Signing off.
We don't highlight the means, so we settle for them greens. Yeah, highlight the trees when I send it to my knees. I don't sway with the breeze. They can't send me to my knees. Yeah.